Hello everyone, I'm Crystal Vittles, Head of Service Delivery for Suffolk Libraries. My talk about touring in libraries will focus on the perceptions of libraries and how we've employed certain methods related to marketing and branding to help us overcome perceptions and be seen as a legitimate venue for great arts. A little bit of background. Suffolk Libraries is an independent organisation, a community-owned trust that divested from the local authority in 2012. Since then, Suffolk Libraries has worked hard to establish its identity among the local community by enriching the library offer. We still have a solid but imaginative core offer, what you would call the traditional offer, but surrounding this are ever-widening cultural and wellbeing offers. Our first real opportunity at trying a new type of cultural offer was in early 2014 when Suffolk Libraries learned it was successful in its Arts Council bid to create live-captured arts screening venues in 8 of our libraries. We called this Suffolk Libraries Presents, and it was a fantastic multi-year programme to bring quality screen performances to audiences in our local communities. Since then, we have developed and honed our learning and therefore our offer, and Suffolk Libraries, in fact, became one of the first library national portfolio organisations. I don't want to focus too much on any one particular programme of ours in this talk, as the learning has been continuous and cumulative with whatever we have done. Each time we've tried something new, we've learned even more about how we market and sell the offer to communities, particularly around touring arts. The first issue to address is how do library users / communities perceive their library, and how could this information be captured? It is an important first step to establishing yourself as a venue, as you need to be relatively sure of at least a small audience before you dip in and try something new. If their perceptions are truly poor, they're unlikely to want to come along to an event. However, I have not personally come across this yet. I have come across communities feeling unsure and saying they might be willing to try. That might sound a bit negative, but it's actually a good basis to start. To establish this can be done really simply, and it could actually involve just a quick online survey, or it could even be a paper copy on the library inquiry desk, which is signposted by a member of the team. Not only does it help you establish whether your core base would be interested in a touring offer and perceive it as a venue, there'd also be a first step in generating interest, as what you've done is plant a seed. Now that's the easy part, as you've potentially hooked someone who already has warm fuzzy feelings about their local library and therefore has a willingness to help or take part. The harder part is trying to establish if there is an interest among people who don't really use their local library and therefore what their perceptions of the space are. This is where your network and your comms and marketing colleagues can help you out. You need to, or at least you should be, reaching out through your partners. You can even ask them to do some surveying on your behalf. There's a lot of goodwill in the cultural sector and you can use this. Your comms team could potentially pay to boost posts on social media so they reach people not currently engaged with you online. I know that social media can be tricky for some libraries and local authorities, so I apologise if you're shaking your head at this bit. But I hear you say, what if their perceptions are really poor and they're not interested at all? What if existing perceptions of the library do not serve our aims for a cultural offer? You could say that maybe I just glossed over this before, but it could happen. And okay, it can happen. But what do? You fight it. You work with your local media contacts in the paper and the radio to get as much exposure as you can. I remember talking to a very sceptical BBC Radio Suffolk presenter about our screening programme right at the start. But I remained positive, upbeat, and just kept plugging the message that libraries are a great place to come and have a cultural experience. Like I said before, plant seeds wherever you go. You need to bring all this together and be honest about what you've learned. It's too easy for us to be defensive. We learned, for example, in 2014 that many people were actually doubtful about the idea, as they thought libraries had to be quiet places, or maybe they were staid and even uncomfortable places to watch a performance. This wasn't a huge surprise, but it gave us a base on which to build. Therefore, what we did was twofold. We worked to ensure our marketing materials were as vibrant as possible and looked genuinely exciting, and hugely importantly, professional. Libraries, and we're all guilty of this, can create marketing materials that are too info heavy and look boring and, dare I say it, too library. We took a leaf out of traditional arts venues books and simply put on the material the information that was the most relevant and let the high quality images speak for themselves. For example, in Suffolk, I can immediately think of performance posters by the New Wolsey Theatre or Red Rose Chain they're just stunning, and I know these work. You have to spend time and money getting your materials professionally done. Creative Arts East did this in 2014, and it really did make a difference, not only for our audiences, but also for us as a team, as it made us feel really proud and it reminded us that we're professionals. The second part of this, leading on from the learning, is to invest in your spaces and create venues that are comfortable and nice to be in. It's amazing how getting the right chairs, blackout blinds, aircon units can move you from the amateur to the professional. And if you're doing this as part of a funding bid, you need to make sure that you put in capital works into your budgets. Thinking about posters and leaflets, you have to put energy into figuring out what would speak to your intended audience. Who do you want to come into this event, and who are you trying to attract? Is it a touring production for little children and parents, or is it a production that deals with the effects of dementia? Either way, you're going to use bold, impactful imagery, but different kinds and in different ways. Working with cultural partners alongside your marketing colleagues will give you great insight into this, and there's a whole piece of psychology of visual marketing. People who work in libraries are great at learning, so you can undertake some light touch learning and actually reap quite big rewards. It's really important to create a brand for your offer. We did this in 2014 with Suffolk Libraries Presents, and more recently with our young people's MPO programme, Block. This helps create consistency of message, but also subtly lets audience know they'll be getting the same quality offer each time. Have someone professional design the logo, but you need to make sure it harmonises with your overarching library brand. It should stand out as a strong sub-brand of the whole library offer. Once you have this brand, take some time in establishing what you want under this sub-brand. Is it touring only, or will you be adding screening, for example? It's vital you don't try and cram every single little thing you do that might be cultural under this brand, otherwise it won't stand out. Mindful colouring? It feels a bit arty, so let's pop that in. No, you have to be clear about what's under that brand umbrella and commit therefore to quality performances that fit within that. Once you've done that, that's half your marketing battle already done. Data will always be your friend, but try not to rely too heavily on it, otherwise you may have surprises. You can learn lots through audience segmentation data, but it's not the only information you need in order to market. However, audience agency are really helpful, and it's worth buying into what they are offering. To market appropriately and well, you have to complement what you have learned from your data profiles by doing some heavy lifting directly with people. Leading on from this is the question whether people believe quality arts and culture is available at their library. This is a mixed bag, as your core faithful base will of course know this. However, the point is to draw in new audiences, and for the most part, Joe Bloggs on the street doesn't know this, so you have to go out there and get it in his face. Of course, part of this is about ensuring you work with quality artists, but I'm not going to focus on that side. So you have to work with the arts organisation, or even if it's a sole trader artist, to market together. Most of the artists you'll be working with will have performed at great established venues already, so use that to your advantage. Someone could look at your marketing materials and say to themselves, oh, I've seen they've recently played at the Theatre Royal in Bury St Edmunds and now they're in such and such a library. Therefore you can really play this up. And even if they've even played at big ticket libraries like Manchester Central or the Library of Birmingham, just don't forget to play this up. It all comes full circle in that having quality touring productions in turn helps to break down negative perceptions of libraries and therefore generate more buzz for future performances. However, you have to keep ploughing on, and you have to have more than one event. One and done will do you no favours. You have to create a programme of events over time and commit to it. Even if it's 4 times a year that you put on a production, that's still enough for you to establish an audience base. Putting lots of effort into one production will actually almost be a wasted effort for you. We have found this, especially with young people and performances. Keep offering them things, and in turn they will give you their trust and therefore become an audience. Libraries Connected said in 2018 that libraries are places where users can experience vibrant and diverse cultural events, reaching communities who do not normally take part in the arts. This is a really key comment, as libraries can be a stepping stone or a springboard for people to start accessing the arts and cultural activity. What is forgotten about us who actually do take part in cultural activity is that there are barriers, not just physical, but social and economic. Now, established cultural venues have done a lot to break down the physical and economic barriers to the arts, but there is still a key role libraries can play in breaking down social barriers. If you're not plugged in to the arts, it can be really nerve-wracking going to a big venue. How do I dress? Where do I go? What if I look silly and people laugh at me? However, trying out a cultural activity in a library is low stakes. You can dress comfortably, everything is signposted, it's not far from home, etc. You can really lean into this and sell your events to this kind of audience, maybe even marketing it as a come and try, which will hopefully lead to pleasant surprises for you. Finally, one of the last things I want to say is that staff are integral to both the core library offer and obviously to a good touring offer, as they help set the atmosphere for the space, and once you've got that audience over the threshold. This feeds directly into perceptions, as getting audiences through the door is only half the battle, as you want to establish an audience who will return again and hopefully bring their friends. This means creating an entire experience for the event. And so we created training with one of our arts partners for our colleagues, which focused on this. For example, if you have an evening performance, you would ensure the following. There is a gap between the library closure and the performance. This allows time for tidying and getting the performance set up. You have someone who meets and greets on the door. They ask about the tickets, they point people in the right direction, and they also say things like, well, I hope you have a really good evening. You have some light music playing in the background as the audience mingles. There's nothing worse than awkward silence. You have tea, coffee, wine, etc. Sometimes we include this in the ticket price, and it's up to you how you do this. And snacks are always popular too. You have someone there, almost your MC for the evening, who welcomes everybody, invites them to sit down and offers a warm introduction, both thanking the audience and also giving the quick information needed about the performance and where to go to the toilet, etc. If there is a break, you make sure the music goes back on, and out come the refreshments again. At the end of the performance, you thank everyone for coming and you tell them about other upcoming performances. And I cannot stress this enough. This is a key marketing opportunity. You have your posters and leaflets for other library performances to hand throughout the actual one you're doing. Don't let an opportunity pass you by. Finally, you ask people to fill out feedback postcards which can capture information which help you hone the performance offer and how well you market in the future. The last point is important, as you can draw testimonials out from this. Keep asking people about their experiences and use their words to convince others. This is one of the most powerful marketing tools you have. You use their words on your marketing, you splash it across your social media. You don't forget that word of mouth is an important marketing tool, and if you give someone a good experience, the chances are they will tell someone or be on the lookout for another event, maybe even both. Therefore, it's quite clear to see that marketing and branding are key to perceptions of libraries as legitimate touring venues. There is no field of dreams scenario here. If you build it, they will only come if you market and promote it right. This is a principle that libraries should be adopting anyway, and they should be investing in how they present themselves to a wider audience in their core base. We want more and different kinds of audiences in libraries, and therefore you have to put up a bit of a fight to be heard. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you found this helpful.